Welcome back, listeners, to the second part of my conversation with Jordan about PBIS versus trauma-informed education. If you haven't listened to episode 442, feel free to go back and listen to that first. Welcome to the Desert Sanctuary with Carl and Laura Forehand.
Often when we have doubts about religion or simply want to ask questions, it can feel like we are wandering out into the desert.
We would like to invite you to join our sanctuary, the Desert Sanctuary.
We've tried to pick guests that would resonate with and challenge us and our fellow seekers here in the desert.
We believe that a key to the journey is to keep asking good questions, and we believe that all stories are sacred.
Our hope is that you will find life and healing for your body and mind, and that you will be able to be where you are and be who you are.
And now, here is our show. Next question I have for you is, many systems in Western institutions rely on pyramids, tiers, or ranking systems. What values or worldviews might these structures reflect? So like looking at the features of PBIS described in the article that I read, which ones reflect those same values or worldviews? And I know you haven't had a chance to read the entire article, but PBIS is based on a tiered pyramid system. So tier one is like, it's kind of like how we do, now I can't remember what this is going to be terrible. Multi-tiered. It's a multi-tiered system. So like we use this a lot in education, where it's like your whole group instruction is for everybody, right? And then you've got kiddos that might struggle a little bit with reading. So we put them in a tier 2 group, right? And then you're really kiddos that are struggling big time, like they're in 3rd grade and they can't read CVC words. You know, we're going to put them in a tier 3 at the top of the pyramid. So it's like very broad to very narrow. So what values or worldviews might that type of structure reflect? And I haven't had a chance to really think about this because these are the two newest. But you've been talking about hierarchy. And so that's basically what a pyramid kind of is, right? It's like a hierarchy. Can you talk a little bit about that when it comes to education?
I mean, that's kind of just how like society works. Like I don't like using labels, but like I have a lot of affinity for like, in terms of political theory, like anarchistic political theory. And no one get it twisted. That doesn't mean like, I think there should be no government. Like, that's not what it means. Like, but I do think we should try to reduce hierarchy to the level that we can. I think in a mass society, like, I don't think, listen, I love living in a city of 2 million people because it's so convenient. And like, I can have like the best of like a little bit of like suburban / like countryside living with the best of like the city life. And like, I don't ever have to drive. And like, anyway, it's convenient. So like, I like it. And like, if we're going to live in those kind of societies, we do have to have some sort of hierarchies. Like,
sure.
Doing like full like democracy for every decision we make is just not realistic. But I also like know that human brains are designed to like live in tribes of like 100 people, and we should not be in like, definitely not on social media. Like, so yeah, like I think I'm kind of two minds about it. But yeah, I think it reflects like capitalism. It reflects authoritarian systems, totalitarian systems. Like, it reflects a lot of things. It reflects like kind of society at large. But I do think that like because of that, it also mirrors a lot of the issues that we have in society at large. So I don't know if I'd narrow it down to one thing. I think it would kind of depend on the exact topic or like issue that we're dealing with, like a specific student. But yeah, I think it mirrors a lot of stuff, and it mirrors a lot of the bullshit that we have in society that causes a lot of problems, where we have, the teacher is above, like, I had a similar issue with this, like, let's just say a student that I was teaching, had some issues with one of their parents, and it was kind of just a thing of like, well, I'm your parent, so you have to listen to me. And then I was there when one of their grandparents called and was like, listen, like you like the to be fair, like this was in like mostly Taiwanese, which is like my third language. So like I didn't perfectly understand anything, but I did talk with the students a little bit afterwards. And so I think I understand like kind of what was happening. But basically it was like the grandma was saying, like the lower person respects the higher person, not the higher person respects the lower person. And when they got off the call, I was like, they were like, that's bullshit. And I was like, you're right. Like, mutual respect is what it is. Like, everyone respects everyone, whether or not, like, yeah, there are going to be higher and lower positions. Like a teacher is going to be higher than the students, and for good reason, because like, at least theoretically, not always in practice, but you should be like more educated and have better coping mechanisms and be able to like deal with these kind of things better than the students. Again, not that that's always the case. But yeah, it's still like, I have students who are like, this teacher is an asshole and like doesn't respect me. And I'm like, they're like, so I don't respect them. And I'm like, listen, I can't really disagree with you. Like, I get where you're coming from. Like, you still have to try to make the best of it. But like, at the same time, like, I would be the same way. I don't always tell them that until they graduate. But once they graduate, I'm like, yeah, listen, like in your situation, I would have been way worse than you. If I'm going to be honest, like I would have told that teacher to like eat a bag of dicks or something. Like I would have been very mean to that teacher because they're an asshole. Like that's just what it is. Like, but I don't know if that really answers the question, but I think it reflects a lot of society in general.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm kind of looking up the PBIS pyramid.
I have it here
levels.
It's kind of long. It's
go ahead.
2, 2, 3. I have their website pulled up, but
okay. What's the website? Give the website name.
This is actually not their website.
Okay. I think it's like PBIS.org or something like that. If anybody wants to look it up. I believe that's
right.
Okay.
I'm on the National Education Association website. Okay.
So go ahead and share what you got. I want to know what these levels are.
It's kind of long, but like the first one is like universal. Tier 1 is universal supports are provided to all students across all settings, including rules and expectations, posters in the classroom and hallways, clear instructions for teachers and staff on how to handle behavioral problems, and positive reinforcement for good behavior.
Okay. And what I have on mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I have on mine, I have that same thing on mine. And in parentheses, it says 75 to 90% of students. So 75 to 90% of students will fall into that universal category. Okay, go ahead. What's tier 2?
Tier 2 practices and systems provide targeted interventions to specific groups of students who are at risk for displaying problematic behaviors. Once the assessment has been completed in Tier 1, supports are in place, blah, 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 blah. There's a bunch of stuff. But then it says targeted interventions might include individualized behavioral plans, counseling or therapy sessions, or intensive classroom management strategies. Specific Tier 2 interventions focus on social skills, self-management, and academic support. Which is all sufficiently vague, I would like to say. Yeah, and for that I have.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just trying to say, to be fair, it's just an introduction, so like I don't want to be too hard on it, but like obviously we both disagree with this kind of strategy.
Right, and in parentheses it says 10 to 25% of students are going to fall into that category. Okay, so what do you have for Tier 3? Which is in red, which I have to laugh because it's just like green, universal. Like this is where we all should be, right? Yeah. Because it's green, it's good, it's go. Yeah. Yellow is, you're kind of skating on some iffy territory here. You 10 to 25% of students. And then Tier 3 is red, like red stop. Unacceptable. Like emergency. I'm like, what kind of anyway. So go ahead. That's my side tangent.
I love it. Tier 3 interventions are reserved for the most serious cases of problematic behavior and are often implemented in collaboration with community agencies such as mental health clinics or social service agencies. The Tier 3 schools should include an experienced individual who can offer who can offer formal behavioral support with applied behavioral and multi-agency support expertise. There's again a bunch of stuff. I don't want to read the whole thing, but Tier 3 interventions may include providing individualized instruction away from classmates, residential treatment programs, or hospitalization.
And in situations that may be appropriate, but I'm also like, how many schools are equipped with that?
In public schools, almost none.
Right.
If any at all. Yeah.
Right. And in parentheses, it says 3 to 5% of students will be in tier 3. So when I look at that, I guess the tiered system, how the PBIS tiered system is set up, my question is, because it's kind of like, and I agree, like if there's kids that can't read, we need to get them the help that they need.
Yeah.
Like I totally agree with that. But there's also a little bit, and we try hard as teachers not to have a stigma around like, oh, you need to go to title reading, or you're going to get pulled out for tier 2, but then you also, because you really don't know how to read like basic kindergarten words in 3rd grade, so we're going to pull you out for that. Yeah. Bing, 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 tier 3 intervention.
Yep.
But when you like, I don't want to say, the word that's coming to mind is isolate. They're not being isolated, but they are being pulled out
They kind of are being, they are being isolated.
Yeah.
Like they're being pulled off by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And we want them to get what they need, but I question with the PBIS tiered system, are we adding to the behaviors that we don't want to see? Because these kids, like there could be, I won't say there is, but there could be some shame in that. Sure. Oh, I've heard kids say it.
100%.
I've heard them say, I'm stupid, so I got to go to tier 2 reading. I got to go see, Mrs. B because, I don't know how to read. I mean, I can't tell you that in my 20 years of teaching, the number of kids that have said, I can't read. When I'm like, you absolutely can read. You know what this word is. It may be the word duh. Yeah. You know how to read it. So you do know how to read. We have to come up with some strategies on helping us with the bigger words, right? But I just wonder when we're talking about PBIS, when we're talking about that behavior support, could we be adding to the behaviors that we're trying to avoid? That wasn't a question that was asked of me. That's a question that I just thought of. So
I think we definitely, I think in a lot of cases we are. There's also a lot of research that says like putting kids, like even kind of to take it like to on a different level, like kids who are in like English as a second language classes that are in like American schools, like most of the people there speak English as their first language. Like there is a benefit actually to just keeping them in like the normal classes. There's of course, like for certain kids, if they're like extra shy or something, like maybe you want to add like those additional English classes, whatever. But again, there's a stigma, and like this is one of the most.
He's taking his glasses off, folks.
I guess
he's regulating. He's regulating.
I'm trying to regulate. I just took a deep breath. There is so like one of the most basic things that they teach you when you go take education classes is like the one of the buzzwords that everyone knows in psychology and education is self-fulfilling prophecy. If you label a kid as a tier 3 red case, like fucking terror alert red, they're gonna a certain percentage of them, maybe not all of them, some of them may actually thrive in those places, but a lot of them are gonna go, like you said, I'm stupid, I can't read, I can't blah blah blah. And it's I see it whether it's in reading or English or whether it's in psych social history, like all these social science classes that I teach, or whether it's like in the ideas that I have about my body or whatever. Like it's like once you've been labeled that, once your parents tell you that maybe you need to lose a little weight and like that kind of shit, like it's very easy for kids to internalize that shit and for it to become a very serious complex. So like it's just like we as educators should know better than that. Like if you just understand basic psychology, you should know better than that. That's my thing. It's like it really makes me mad because I have to deal with so much extra bullshit with a lot of my students because of the way that like teachers follow that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I have to help a bunch of kids unlearn a bunch of bullshit that
Mm-hmm.
parents or teachers or, people who are higher in the hierarchy of whatever bullshit that we've created, like, will put on the kids. And it's just like, can you not make my job harder? Like,
Yeah.
honestly, like, can we just do shut the fuck up Friday and like, you just don't talk to me, like, or don't talk to the kid? Cause like, you're making it worse. You are not helping. Just leave the kid alone. I'll deal with it. But like, the more you talk, like, the more it, honestly, just like, for lack of a better phrase, it just fucks everything up.
I am going to need that on a t-shirt. Shut the fuck up Friday. I don't know that I could wear it to, phrase. I might have to put some tape over that word, but man, I'd love to wear that to school.
I can make a like a elementary friendly one. Shut the flip up Friday or something.
I love it. I'd wear it for sure. All right. So last question I have for you. Okay. And I'm really intrigued at your response to this because I feel like you've dug into these aspects way more than I have, although I did send you an article about it that I've yet to read, so I'm just going to be very transparent there. But colonial systems often locate problems within individuals rather than examining the systems that create harm. What does it mean to pathologize someone's behavior, and how might PBIS reinforce colonial mentality within people on both the giving and receiving end of these types of behavior systems? I can repeat any of that you need me to, because that was a mouthful.
No, it's this is the question. So
first of all, I'm going to stop you really quick. So first of all, can you explain to me, what do we mean by colonialism? Because I always feel like, oh yeah, I mean, your sister Lily brings it up, and like, we were watching the World Cup and she's like, well, I'm not going to go for that country because they're colonialized or something like that. And so she was kind of educating me on that. But what does that term mean? I mean,
it's complicated. This is the one I started to do research on first, because I was a little bit interested in like exactly what they meant by that, and like how that might, like, I wanted to look at the data. Sure. I didn't have time, as I told you before we got on podcast, like, to like really dive into it. Essentially, I mean, colonialism is, unfortunately, the history education system is not very good in the United States. But anyway, the idea about colonialism is like, countries used to control other countries. Like, most countries, including the United States, used to be controlled by another country. And a lot of them got their freedom at different points. And perhaps unsurprisingly, like, most of the white countries got freedom a lot earlier than a lot of the countries that were, mostly populated by people of color. Maybe that's because of racism. Who could ever know? Yeah, if no one recognized that was sarcasm. Yeah, but it's basically, yeah. And I think probably more what they're, and again, this is why I want to look into those articles more, and maybe we can come back to this in more detail in a later time.
Yeah.
But
I don't think we're done talking about this.
No.
This may even be 2 parts, and we'll come back with some more, because I'm going to have more questions. Anyway, go ahead. I stopped your train of thought.
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely need to talk about it again, because like, each of the questions could be its own podcast. But essentially, I think probably they're more talking about neo-colonialism. So colonialism is obviously like, okay, like, everyone knows, like, or most people know, like, the phrase "the sun never sets on the British Empire," which is mostly because, like, God doesn't trust a Britishman in the dark. But anyway, or an Englishman, what I should say. But anyway, that's a bad joke. But basically, like, that idea is like that these countries used to control other countries. Like, Britain used to control India and like Malaysia and Hong Kong and like all these other countries. And it still exists today. Sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. A lot of like the idea of like I was saying, like, neo-colonialism is that like places like the United States, who are like quote unquote first world countries, have a lot more money and power, and so they can kind of influence, as we're seeing with like whatever you want to look at, the tariffs or whatever, by our favorite big orange boy. They're kind of it's a way of coercion, right? It's
Right.
Again, similar to the hierarchies that we see in the education system. Often. It's just like the way that like kind of it works sometimes. And again, to like go off what you were talking about with Lily, I just wouldn't watch FIFA because FIFA is one of the most corrupt organizations in the world, and like they're literally currently doing a deal to like sell off a bunch of like soccer shit. Sorry, Europeans, but I'm going to call it soccer. But yeah, it's a joke. I have same thing with the Olympics committee. Like, if you guys have any questions about that, I can send you articles that me and one of my best friends have written on our old political website that we used to run. It's absolutely rigged, corrupt. Like it's gross. Anyway, I'm still a little bit curious about exactly what they mean by that. But certainly in a lot of cases, like from a perspective of a country like where you have like a lot of immigration, like the United States, like the UK, like there's issues in terms of cultural expectations or like, I mean, that's like the biggest one, I guess, but like these kind of ideas where like you have these others, obviously there could be like internalized racism or something like in the teacher and the other students, whatever. Like that's also like the more extreme version, but like even just cultural expectations of like, okay, for instance, like I'll give you a really like simple, stupid example in Taiwan of like the issue that you could run into is like, I remember like obviously I'm in the habit of like when people sneeze, I say bless you. In Taiwan, people don't do that. You sneeze, that you just sneeze. Like that's a bodily function. No one gives a shit. They don't think it's your soul escaping your body because you're a fucked up psycho Christian culture. Sorry. But like, I remember like there were multiple times when I've like kids have sneezed in class and I'm like, oh, bless you. And they go, oh, I'm sorry, teacher. And I'm like, what? Like, no, you don't need to apologize. I'm just, and then like, oh, fuck. Like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense to you at all. Of course it wouldn't. But I think in those ways, like, yeah, some behaviors that could be seen as like natural or whatever, or like curious or investigative in certain cultures may be seen as rude, or like, again, if you have kids that don't have the language skills, like I have kids that talk in like what some people would consider like a rude manner, but it's not because they're rude, it's because they have rudimentary language skills. Yeah. And so it's like, for me, like if they say something like that, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. Like you got the right answer. But like, we might word it like this because like, if you say this to someone in America, like they may think about it like this because we have this, social mores that says like, you have to talk in a certain way. I'm not going to think of a specific example because I'll stumble with my words. But anyway, you get the idea. I think that's what they could be talking about. And I definitely think that's the case. I do have, I don't know. I have some thoughts on like people throwing around like the colonialism word a little bit too much sometimes. In terms of like trying to apply it to everything, that's a personal thing and it depends on the case. And again, I don't know enough about this specifically to like make any sort of critique, but yeah, I think that's probably what they're talking about. And I think that's definitely factual. Like when you deal, and it's easier for me, I think, to like understand because I teach basically zero kids. I've probably taught like one or two kids that are like born in a foreign country, grew up in a foreign country, and then moved here. Like most of the kids are Taiwanese. So it's like I'm dealing with different culture, which I understand to a fair degree. Like I have done my best to like learn the languages of the island that I live on, which is a series of islands for the country that I live in, country being a very important word. But like you can't, like when you're dealing with different cultures, like you have to keep a more open mind because like otherwise you're gonna be like, oh, that's offensive, and you're gonna get defensive. Yes. And then that's what causes problems. But again, that also is related to like teachers being dysregulated. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to repeat myself.
No. Well, so what I don't know if it's an article as much as it is like a Google search. So take it for what it's worth. But what it says is critics, educational theorists, and decolonial scholars argue that positive behavior interventions and support, PBIS, mirrors colonialism by imposing a single dominant culture's behavioral standards onto a diverse student population, which is exactly what you're talking about, systematically punishing or erasing indigenous, racialized, and non-dominant culture expressions. So that's exactly what you said. And like, you know, you didn't even read this Google search that I sent you. So it says, while PBIS was designed as a positive, data-driven framework to improve school climate, its standard implementation often operates as colonial logics, which is in parentheses, that prioritize compliance and cultural assimilation over authentic student identity. So that, in a nutshell, is pretty much what you said. It also talks about like the myth of the ideal student, right? There is no ideal student. That's a myth. Erasure of identity. So when we kind of lump everybody into this, you know, standard of conformity, we're erasing some of those things that make them an individual. You know, it is a token economy, so we didn't really talk much about that. But I know at the first district I was in, it was like they got, oh shoot, I'm going to forget now. But I believe it was they got tickets. I remember we had to sign our initial on the back, and we had to hand it to a student that we thought was like, you know, following the expectations. And we had to tell them why. And it was the second way at my second district. They were called golden tickets because they were yellow, I guess. But then students could collect so many. Yeah, right. So students could collect so many and turn those in for, you know, a trinket or, you know, something from the prize bucket or whatever. But this token economy, you know, we're talking about, like, it talks about coercive assimilation and behavioral directives, which I'm going to read that. So PBIS relies heavily on token economies, giving tickets, points, and privileges, which I just talked about for compliant behavior. So it also talks a little bit about the illusion of neutrality. Standard PBIS often acts as a color evasive or race neutral framework. So by treating all students as if they, which I'm not sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, kind of talk, you know, you talked a little bit about racism. So is that what we're talking about here when it talks about that? Treating all students as if they start?
There's some, I think the issue of like color blindness and things like that, like, gets complicated, but I do think that, like, if we're ignoring like cultural differences or like cultural niceties, like, it gets dangerous real quick. I do also think that, like, sometimes people can go the opposite direction, of course, as with everything, like, where they just can be like, oh, it's just a different culture, so it's like, okay. But, like, for me, I'm not like really a cultural relativist. Like, I don't think just because your culture is different, like, it's okay. Like, for instance, like Afghanistan, the current culture of the government in Afghanistan, I think, is putrid. It's bullshit. Like, it's a fucking misogynistic piece of shit ideology. So fuck them. Like, that's shitty. No, fuck you. Like, any of those people in power, I think they should be taken out of power. So I think it's complicated, but that if you want to break it down to like the simple thing, it's if you have a relationship with the students, they can explain it to you in the words that they have. And if you're teaching that grade level, you should be able to understand them as much as we can. And again, I think then we can work from there. But yeah, I think overall, there are, of course, like those kinds of racist issues. And again, if you're like, it's the same thing with me. Like, I teach in Taiwanese schools to Taiwanese students. There are certain students that I've had that are from like indigenous communities, or like different. I won't explain the whole thing. If we want to do the whole thing of like Taiwan is a very homogenous society. Like, most people are like the same, quote unquote, like Han ethnic group, which again, all that's socially constructed and it doesn't actually mean anything, but it does mean something because it has real world implications. So it's a little bit easier for me because like most people are like the same kind of culture. But again, even within that, you have breakdowns of culture of like working class culture versus like, again, there's certain minorities that come in, blah, 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 blah. But the point is that like, those are things that like you should, if you have students from different cultures, like I've had students again from indigenous cultures here, I will like build a relationship with them, learn about the tribe that they're from, and then we'll talk about it and I'll learn some of their culture. And like, if I learn something that's like, oh, they like, it's usually not that much different.
Yeah.
So again, it's easier for me, but like, yeah, if you have a student that comes from a different culture and acts slightly differently, your first impetus as a teacher should not be, this kid is being an asshole, so I need to punish them.
Yeah.
It should be, oh, they're like, like maybe they're different, or like I know I hopefully will already know something about them, and so I know they come from this different culture. Let me investigate that first before I freak the fuck out. Like you just have a little bit of mindfulness and like non-reactivity. Like it's not that hard. But also, you were talking about token economies, and sorry for going on so long, but
no, you're fine.
I think token economies in and of themselves are not bad.
Okay.
In certain cases, but if that's the only system of discipline you have is token economy, then you're just doing behaviorism, and I think that's bad.
Yeah.
That's what I would say, because I do think there is something to behaviorism, but the other thing is that again, you have to judge each student based on their own merit. So we used to do a token economy where we give stickers, and then they can trade them for stationery or toys or trinkets or whatever. But like, I'm not judging, and kids will call you out on this. Like, I would give kids stickers. Like, I would give one kid a sticker where like for doing something very mundane, but whereas another kid, I would require them to do more to get a sticker, and they would be like, that's not fair. And I'd be like, okay, here's the reason why I'm doing that. And oftentimes, obviously, I'm not doing this in front of the whole class.
Right.
I pull whichever kid that is aside who's being like, why are you being so nice to me? Or why are you like requiring more of me? Pull them aside and then have a conversation with them about it, which again builds that relationship.
Exactly.
But the point being is like, you have to say, listen, I know your ability. And they'll be like, well, what about the other kid? I'm like, well, it's not, no, you are you. You don't need to worry about the other kid. Like that's their own journey. They're on their own thing, and they have their own situation. You can never fully understand their situation. You should try, and you should ask them questions if you want to understand like what they're going through. But like, that's a different thing. You're a you. Did you improve this week? Yes, you did. That's why I gave you stickers. Did you regress this week, or did you stagnate this week? That's why you didn't get as many stickers. Okay. And I've taught 5-year-old kids that can understand that concept. It's not fucking hard, but then but it can't only be that. It can't only be just like you get rewards or you get, because again, when you get to 30 kids, you're never going to be perfect. You're not going to notice the kid that was raising his hand that didn't get to answer, or hurt the girl who like, whatever, like you get the idea. You're a teacher, you get it.
No, and really, you like, it's so funny that you mentioned what you just mentioned, because I use whole brain teaching as a method of classroom management and a way of teaching. And I've used that for, I don't know, 12, 15 years, something like that. But I have been struggling with, we have what's called the super improver wall. And so it is a like kind of sticker thing. Okay. Right. Yeah. But I love what you just said, because I've been going back and forth in my mind. Like, is that behaviorism? Should I be doing that in my classroom? But what you said about each individual student is an individual student, and we're looking at their behavior, not in comparison to everybody else, but this is all about you. And did you behave in this area of kindness, of generosity, of academics? It's not always academics. Sometimes it is, you normally like barge to the front of the line, and today you were like, hey, JD, you can go in front of me, or just an act of kindness, random act of kindness, or so it can be anything. So that really helped me kind of put things into perspective, because I've really been struggling with that, I want to make, and you have to be purposeful in
Yeah.
those systems, right?
Yeah.
Because it is very easy to fall back and go, you get a sticker, you get a sticker, everybody, the whole, 5 of you, because you were listening, you 2 over there don't get one because you were talking while I was trying to teach, then we're getting into the almost behaviorism end of that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I have to be intentional. I have to be purposeful, and make sure that I'm not using those stickers as a reward or a punishment. It is a fine line. It is.
And I also, it's easier with my students, but like I've experimented a little bit with this with like the younger kids too. And I don't know, maybe I know even some people who do like research or like are more like research based, like no kind of like the educational research around this stuff, that have kind of been like, you're being a little bit flippant with it, but like I sometimes will just like, and this is like, again, the little bit of me that's kind of like an anarchist, I'll sometimes just be like, I'll tell the kids like, listen, this system is bullshit. Like, I'll just be like, it's bullshit. Like, but like, that's like, again, with the older kids where I'm just like, listen, like I try to be as fair as I can, but I'm not perfect. And like, listen, like, if you really want this like token or whatever, like, okay, just put in a little extra work or something. Like, and same thing, like when I hold the kid after to tell them like, oh, well, you didn't get stickers today because like you did this thing that you didn't follow the rules or like whatever, you didn't improve as much as you should have today, and I want to hold you accountable for that. But if you want to put a little extra work right now, we can whatever, like recite spelling words, or we can like with my older kids, it's like, okay, come to me like during lunchtime, we'll eat lunch together, we'll talk, we'll like go over some slides, we'll review, and then I'll give you a sticker or whatever. Like I'm like, we can make it up, but like again, it's all made up, but it's about how much effort you put in, and like again, I'm not going to be perfect about it. Like that's also part of it. It's just it's not perfect. And the other thing I would say is like, I don't think, and I'm not saying this is exactly what you're doing, but what I want to tell you is like, don't get hung up on like, oh, this is like a behaviorism technique, so like it's bad, or like this is like this. Again, it kind of depends with the kids, and also like I think of course you shouldn't be like just punishing kids, or like, and obviously you're not doing this. When I say you, I mean the royal you.
I get you.
But like if you have the relationship in the first place, then it's not really an issue, because the kids will tell you, I think this is unfair, and you'll know if they're being like whiny about it, or if they're like legitimately like, no, I think this is unfair. And then you can have that conversation going forward, and then they're going to learn from that anyway. So like, that's where I like approach it. It's just like, okay, we're going to have the relationship first, and I'll try to like reinforce certain stuff, maybe through, I really don't do much punishment, except for like, there are kids that I know that punishment works a little bit better for, but like generally I just don't punish kids.
Right.
I just don't give them rewards, or like, again, like the biggest thing is like, it's not about the punishment or the reward. It's about talking to them about it. Cause like in the end, yeah, they might want the, like certain kids may want those trinkets, especially like young kids, but a lot of them, they just want the attention. They just want to talk to you. They just want to, and like, listen, I'll give you all my attention if you're engaged and you want to learn.
Right.
Which I think, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it is not cut and dry by any stretch of the imagination, whether we're, so it's not that it's kind of, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not that we're saying like behaviorism is terrible. I don't know the right word, but I'll say there's a lot of bad things about behaviorism, but I think it can, if especially on a very superficial level, I think it can be a tool in your tool belt of like there is something like operative conditioning is a thing. And like, again, I tend to stray away from like the punishment side of it. But like, and I give like the reinforcement side of it, like a lot of leeway. Like I'm very free with kids where like, they'll be like, oh, especially like, again, if you have that relationship, you can kind of say to them like,
they'll tell you, oh, today I'm like really tired. Okay, so now I'm gonna, and if I know that's true, there are some kids that are always I'm tired.
Yeah,
it's like, well, it's because you're a piece of shit that like, and none of the kids are like actually pieces of shit. Like, this is me talking trash as a teacher, but like, oh, it's because you're like you're not being responsible, and you're like staying up too late, and you watch Netflix all night till like 3 a.m. and then you overslept and like didn't do your homework. Like, that's on you. You messed up. Like, so you're not going to get the reward today. But still, like, if you try, maybe you will. Maybe you'll get something. But like, again, I'll also reward you if you like improve your sleep schedule. Like, it also applies to things outside of the classroom. But the point being is like, yeah, you like you'll know. You will like, not always, not perfectly. It's again, none of it's perfect. It's all sloppy. Like, human relationships are sloppy as fuck.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, like, my kids will let me know. And honestly, they don't even need to let me know. I can tell, like we talked about earlier, if they're having a bad day. But then I can go to them and say, listen, I can tell you're in a bad mood today, right? And they're like, yeah, how'd you know? And I'm like, I just listen. I know. Okay. I know you, but I saw you in class, someone interrupted you, and I saw you get mad, but I saw you take a breath and like calm down. That's like,
I will give a super improver star for that.
But even if here's the thing, this is why I say behaviorism is not bad, because even if you don't give them anything, that's still technically using behaviorism. You're reinforcing a behavior by telling them that's good.
True.
Or you're like negatively reinforcing a behavior by saying, hey, listen, which is what I do with kids a lot. I get it. You're stressed. You have a big test coming up, and the other kids in the class don't have that test. So listen, I saw you're working hard today. I know you're stressed out. I know you're tired. So you don't have to do the homework. If you try to review, and if you talk with me about it, that's enough. That's negative reinforcement. So that's why I'm saying, like, we can't get into the mindset of like, this is evil, this is good. Like, because then we get into that mindset of religion where it's like good and evil, black and white. It's like, no.
Yeah.
If it works because different things work for different kids, which I know you're well aware of, like, then if it works for them and it's not hurting them, then why won't we use it? Like, but of course, when you apply it in this kind of like universal way of like, you're this thing, and like, and labeling is such a, I mean, we could have a whole podcast about labeling, but when you put, oh, you're a tier 3 kid on a kid, you're labeling them. And again, self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, I could go on, but
I couldn't agree with you more. And you really helped me put things into perspective, because sometimes I do think very black and white, and
we all do. We all do.
But I just think that with anything that you do, I'm going to go back to what you said, what we've been saying the whole time. The relationship is so important, because there are aspects of a student, we talked about them on this podcast. There's lots of different variables that you have to take into consideration before you just go, like you said, slap a label on, we're going to call you a tier 2 kid or a tier 3 kid. Like, what else is underneath that behavior, or what else? I just think it's more than just, we like to, it's easy for our brains if we put everything in a nice, neat package and tie it up with a fancy bow. And we think our life is going to be easier, but we have to, it's just so important to take so many of those other things into consideration, which I will say, I do think trauma-informed education does more of that, but we have to, again, it's not one more thing on my plate. It's got to be woven into the tapestry of your classroom on a daily basis from the beginning. So, but this has been solid conversation, man. Solid. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 2 or 3 episodes. So, but I mean, that doesn't mean we can't still have our hashtag Teacher TED Talks on the side on the Desert Sanctuary. So, I wanted to restate the name of the article that we're referring to in all of this, which is Unsnarling PBIS and Trauma-Informed Education, and it's by Rihanna M. Kim and Alex Vanette. So, I mean, search that. We'd love to hear your feedback. We're still learning. So I know, like, Jordan probably lets things slide off, but like, it's okay to disagree with us, but like, just
For sure.
again, be kind about it. Be kind about it. Like, or if you have questions, reach out to either one of us and let's just keep the conversation going. So, but it's go ahead.
If anyone's trying to access, like, that article, I think is unlocked, but
Okay.
especially any educators that are trying to access, let's say, like, academic articles or academic books, and you don't know how, and because of the, like, fucked up system that we live in, you don't have the funds to buy like a 40 British pound article to read a 15-page paper that was put out in an academic journal. I allegedly in Minecraft know how to get those articles without paying for them, so maybe reach out to me.
Perfect. Well, we're going to keep the conversations going, but for now it's 11:32 p.m. in Taiwan. Did I get that right?
That's true.
Yay!
That's exactly right.
So and you've got another long day tomorrow, so we want to make sure you get to bed, get to eat. You haven't even eaten yet, so you got to do that first.
I haven't eaten dinner. I ate some peanuts before I came on to fortify myself.
Okay, well, as your mother, you need more sustenance, so I'm just going to say.
Yeah, I've been awake since 7:30.
Crazy.
And then taught for 11 hours. So yeah, it's been a long day, but it's okay. It's always worth it.
Yeah.
It's always worth it to talk to you, Mom.
I know, right? Love you too. So to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey of learning. I like to say I will be a lifelong learner. So thanks for joining us on that journey. But until next time, as Carl would say, be where you are, be who you are, and be at peace. Thank you for joining us today on the Desert Sanctuary podcast.
Remember, all who wander in the desert are not lost.
We believe all of our stories are sacred.
We are always here if you need someone to hear your story.
Check out our blog on Pathos and also our YouTube channel.
And stay tuned for our Leaning Forward conference.
Remember, we love you.
And be at peace.
Thank you for joining us today on the Desert Sanctuary podcast.
Remember, all who wander in the desert are not lost.
We believe all of our stories are sacred.
We are always here if you need someone to hear your story.
Check out our blog on Pathos and also our YouTube channel.
And stay tuned for our Leaning Forward conference.
Remember, we love you.
And be at peace.